All right, everybody, welcome to the podcast and welcome to this YouTube live video. If you're watching on the channel, I really appreciate that because that means we are just a couple hours removed from Game 2 of this Western Conference Final Series between the Sharks and St. Louis. And if you trust the process, you know this is how it's gone in rounds 1 and 2. Sharks win the first one at home pretty decisively, like they did. And then they lose game 2. So this is now 3 game 2s in a row that they have lost. If you're watching the video, you can see that I am still wearing the necktie. That's typically something I'll never do here in the home studio, but laziness a part of this, the urgency to get on YouTube as quick as possible a part of this, and you know what? I flat out just like the tie. So let's get into tonight's game, 4-2. And in a lot of ways, that feels like the pretty accurate score to describe it. Sometimes the score doesn't match how the game went. And in all reality, it was a 3-2 game for a large chunk of the night, especially late. Bortuzzo made it 3-2, 16:34 into the second period. But then for most of the third period, until Oskar Sundqvist scored the fourth goal for St. Louis, it was a one-goal game. It was very much in play for San Jose. From the second to the third period, however, you got to say when they were trailing by 1, that's when the Sharks just didn't have a plethora of scoring opportunities. In fact, they went for a 15-plus minute span between the second and third periods with no shots on goal. Now, when I say no shots on goal, there's a difference between a shot on goal like the Kevin Labanc one that broke that drought. He just threw the puck on net on Jordan Binnington, but that's not even to say that it was a grade A scoring opportunity. Right? So a difference there between just throwing something on net and having a legitimate opportunity to score. The Sharks just kind of were not dangerous between the second and third periods, late second into early third period. I actually thought San Jose's first period was their best look on the attack, even though they trailed the game 1-0 because Jaden Schwartz scored 2:34 into the game. I thought the rest of the first period, again, despite what the scoreboard said, you had to like San Jose's chances and the way that they looked. Big picture, let me take a step back here for a second. The St. Louis Blues are now 6-2 in road playoff games, right? They're 9-6 overall. 9 wins total as of tonight and 6 wins on the road. So 6 of their 9 wins away from Missouri. And as the series now shifts back to St. Louis or to St. Louis for the very first time, it's not to say that the Blues don't have a home ice advantage or the advantage is more of a disadvantage. It's not to say that. It's just interesting that they have also scored the most road goals of any playoff team in this postseason at 26, 4 more tonight. Yeah, it was a 2 or fewer game for San Jose, and not in the good way, right? Logan Couture's pair of goals, they were interesting. They came within a 2-minute span, in fact, 1 minute and 58 seconds apart. The first one, shorthanded. First off, Marcus Sorensen in the box for a bogus interference call. But I feel like that's the nature of sports, and specifically hockey, sometimes just working itself out. Here the Sharks are all of a sudden now going on the penalty kill. Now this is right after St. Louis had taken a 2-0 lead, right? Vince Dunn scored from the high slot, little traffic out in front of Martin Jones. All of a sudden it's 2-0, and then the Sharks take a penalty. Sorensen goes to the box. He wasn't happy. That was about 30 seconds later. And then about, 15 seconds after that, Logan Couture picks Pietrangelo's pocket, goes the other way. Shorthanded goal. All of a sudden, Sharks are on the board. And then 1 minute and 58 seconds later, great stretch pass by Timo Meier. He really set up his line mate well up the ice. Logan on the breakaway, able to convert 2 shots in a row, or 2 goals and 2 shots in a row. All of a sudden, a 2-0 deficit is gone. San Jose's right back in this game. And again, crazy because it's a matter of the penalty kill giving you momentum in tonight's game. The Sharks were 5 for 5 on the kill. Now, there's 2 parts about this. Number one, that's great. You want to be that perfect when you're shorthanded. And San Jose was. Not only did they keep the Blues from scoring a power play goal, but they got a shorty. The thing is here, though, I don't think you want to be in the box 5 different times in 60 minutes in a playoff game. That seems like a bit much. Also, It's not a matter of just taking all those penalties, but it's a lack of the Sharks drawing penalties in tonight's game. Also, they were only on two-minute man advantages, and quite honestly, neither one was very impressive. And I know there was a large criticism of the Sharks' power play in tonight's contest, but I look back on it and say, yeah, they weren't good when they had the advantage, but they weren't on the power play enough. They weren't drawing enough. They weren't doing enough to draw penalties in this game. They weren't dangerous in making St. Louis take a trip or an interference or a slashing or a hooking call. So, yeah, part of it is just that special teams, in a way, decided tonight's game because the Sharks couldn't get anything going. But in a way, it really didn't decide tonight's contest. I'll say this, St. Louis wins by 2. They also got 2 goals from their back end, Bortuzzo and Dunn, both second-period goals coming from St. Louis's blue line. So, again, just a very segmented game. Blues get the first 2. Sharks get the next 2. St. Louis gets the final 2. And when Sundqvist scored that last goal to make it 4-2 with just a couple minutes left, I think the frustration factor is that San Jose was just about to probably pull Martin Jones, gain an extra attacker for a couple minutes in a 1-goal game, but then Sundqvist scores. Now it's not a 1-goal game, and really having the empty net and the extra attacker, it doesn't have the same effect when you're down by 2, obviously, as opposed to being down by 1. Back to my main point. The trend of series past, right? It's always worked out for San Jose to win the first and to lose the second. But there has been like no comfort factor for the Sharks in these playoffs. There has been no moment of, we can breathe for a second. And tonight's contest with the victory would have been the perfect opportunity for San Jose to be up for the first time by a 2-game margin in a series. Put all the pressure on St. Louis going back to Missouri in this series, right? Put the onus on them to have to be perfect on home ice. Instead, now the Sharks are going to go out there. Is it Enterprise Center? Is that the new name of the rink that I have probably said before and forgotten? Yeah, I know. I'm a professional broadcaster of sports. I should know this, but it's a matter of now the Sharks, the pressure is a little bit on them to get at least one, right? You got to get at least a split in St. Louis and come back for Game 5, 2-2 at the very worst. You can get both in St. Louis, my goodness. Congratulations to you. And I'm not saying it's impossible. There's a lot of people out there who, whether it's a joke or whether it's serious, say that it's still the Sharks in 5. I don't know about that. I really do feel like this series is simple as this so far, a chess match. Sharks came out in Game 1. It was a pretty convincing 6-3 win. There was no point in the game, maybe in the last 7 to 8 minutes, where you thought, all right, Sharks look like they've taken their foot off the gas a little bit, and maybe St. Louis has figured some things out. You knew they were going to have a push, but I don't know that the end of Game 1 was any indication of how Game 2 went or a prelude to Game 2 at all. I'm not sure that they were connected. Logan Couture, 2 goals tonight. Crazy, because now he has 12 and 13 on these playoffs, by far the leading goal getter of anybody in any of the 4 teams remaining. And he's only 3 now behind Alexander Ovechkin since 2010. The playoffs of 2010 were Logan's first, and he's got 47 goals since then. Only Ovechkin has more at 50. We're going to keep pumping this up because I think it really puts into perspective a guy whose name you just don't hear enough of. And you all know, because you're on my YouTube channel, and I'm sure you've seen social before, where I am the no shame fanboy of number 39. I've always liked Logan, literally from the first season where he came up, and one of the first seasons I was covering the Sharks. There was just something about him I could tell. And this was at the point where, the bigger names on San Jose were guys like Danny Heatley and Dan Boyle, and even Rob Blake was on the team. And obviously Joe Thornton was several years younger. Pavelski hadn't even really emerged yet. Devin Setaguchi, a huge figure. Chichu had just been on the team. My point being, you have to rewind it back 10 years, and Logan wasn't the biggest name, but I sensed something, competitive nature. And his buddies on the team were Jason Demers and Jamie McGinn, and his line mate for a while was Ryan Clough. And all of a sudden, Logan Couture assumed the second-line center role, right? Like, he kind of worked his way up into that. And at the time, the unquestioned top center on the team was Joe Thornton. by minutes, by power play time, by importance. It's been cool to see Logan grab this opportunity. And, even now, I think it's still, it's a bit of haze and confusion when you talk about the Sharks' top couple lines. Which one's the first? Which one's the second? It doesn't really matter, but let's be honest. 28 and 39. And now Gus Nyquist joining Meier and Couture. That is the top line. There's no question about it. And that's been how it is the entire season. But you go back to the playoffs of 2016. Nobody had more goals and points than Logan Couture in those playoffs. So I know the Conn Smythe conversation is going to be had at some point. The Sharks need to do a little bit more to put themselves in a higher spot by getting to the final and obviously having success there. But Logan Couture is obviously primed as a candidate right now, and it's not just the points and it's not just the goals, but it's also him blocking shots. It's also him being a responsible 200-foot player, and it's been great to watch his evolution. So I go back to tonight, and we talked about how San Jose's penalty kill was actually what sparked them in their biggest push of the game. Power play didn't. Like I said before, it's a matter of the power play at certain levels, right? There's the top level of the power play, right, where if you put San Jose on it, you're in trouble. They're about to capitalize. They're going to pass the puck around, get it to the point, to Bernsey. Pavelski will be in front to tip or redirect or get a rebound or whatnot. You understand, like, that's the highest level of danger for San Jose's power play. The next thing you'd look for, if they don't score, is just the ability to control the puck for the majority of those 2 minutes, not have to ever go back in your D zone to retrieve a clear or anything like that, and just establish good zone presence, couple great grade A scoring opportunities, and at least put the pressure on St. Louis. Wear them down a bit, gain some momentum, and hopefully even kind of ride through that momentum for another 30 to 60 seconds to 90 seconds, even after the power play is over. That's kind of the, lowest level of expectation, what you'd like from the power play. But I really feel like, even the 4 minutes we saw San Jose there on the power play with man advantage, it was a struggle to even get anything going. And yeah, I mean, part of what we thought would be a momentum changer was when Robert Thomas hooks Joe Pavelski 10:37 into the third period, right? Sharks are trailing now by only one. And this is the power play they absolutely needed to make some noise, to get some momentum, or to get the goal. It obviously did not happen. Now, I want to make this point, too, about the goals that the Sharks gave up, right? Because 4 on Martin Jones, some people out there will say that looks bad. But I think if you watch tonight's game, it wasn't necessarily on Jones for probably 3 of the 4 St. Louis goals. Let me just break down the first 3 because I feel like those were the best examples. Jaden Schwartz really found a soft spot. He was surrounded by, I want to say, 3 or 4 Sharks. Nobody within a stick's length of him. So he was able to, again, find that soft spot kind of in the slot, and he picked his corner. He went top shelf, glove side on Martin Jones. And what can you say? If you're Martin Jones, nobody was marking him. He was uncovered. Of course, would Jones have liked another opportunity? Yes, but was it a bad goal as it relates to goaltending? I don't think so. Vince Dunn's goal from the high slot with some traffic, I think there was a screen out front of Jones as well, too. Some of these, I'm here to say, what are you going to do? Was the goal scored from the perimeter? Yes. Was it a bad goal from a goalie perspective? No, I don't think so. But I also don't think that one was a defensive mistake by San Jose. It was a tip play. It's probably one of the best ways to score goals in the NHL right now, playoffs included. But the Bortuzzo goal was also another story of San Jose with some defensive miscues before the goal was even scored. Curtis and I were talking during the commercial break of tonight's postgame coverage, and there is that difference of a goal scored. Was the goal made by the shot and the execution or the goalie's mistake? Or was the goal made by the opponent playing smart, taking advantage of a defense that was either out of position or not covering the shooter? You get what I'm saying? The goal was caused by defensive mistakes more than it was a goaltending issue. definitely the Shorts goal and definitely the Bortuzzo goal scored in those fashions. And yes, the Bortuzzo goal was the game winner of the contest. You know, in terms of the goalie matchup and Martin Jones and Jordan Binnington, you know, Binnington in game one, I do want to say this. I don't know that it was discussed. I thought a lot about it afterwards. He'd never faced the Sharks. He'd never played a game at SAP Center. You can't tell me there wasn't some extra mental aspect for Binnington during game one that may not have been there during game two. He was a 2 or fewer goalie tonight. What can you say? And one of them was shorthanded on a breakaway. Actually, both of them were kind of on breakaway. So you can't say that the Sharks ever established zone presence and scored a goal by passing the puck around. They had some, you know, rush chances that they were able to convert on. It's amazing when you think about the matchup between San Jose and St. Louis. Both teams have 9 wins, obviously. The Blues have 6 losses. The Sharks have 7 losses. I really feel like this is a chess match through 2 games. Sharks came out, played their best, realized how they could exploit St. Louis a little bit, being out of position. St. Louis wanted to play the body a little bit more in game one. I feel like it. I mean, I'll look at the stats. I'm not sure that they always indicate it, but, you know, it is what it is with the eye test. I'm so distracted right now. I just saw the camera has a low battery. I was about to sign off anyway. So thanks for watching this episode. I appreciate it. I'll be back with another recap next time. If you're listening on the podcast, please subscribe on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify. Hit me up on Twitter, also on Instagram. I've been working really hard on the gram to put out some great content. Until next time, I'm Brody Brazil, and yes, that is my real name. And if you're still watching on the YouTube video, you know that's how I sign off the podcast. Look at that camera battery going off right there. Is it? Wait, gotta flip on the screen. Oh, there it is right there. Look at that thing. Beep, 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 beep. You know what? I had about a half battery left on the camera when I turned this thing on. It should have lasted way longer than that. I think the indication was wrong. But yeah, this is the life right here of a YouTuber. Camera, battery, getting low on the live stream. That's not good. We couldn't afford to do this on real TV. That's why this is on YouTube. Oh, man. All right. It's getting late. I do get to enjoy a day off tomorrow on Tuesday. It's much needed, let me tell you. Baseball and hockey back and forth for quite some time now. So anyway, I appreciate everybody for watching. Thank you so much. Subscribe to the channel if you would. That would really help me get videos out to more of you in the future. And yeah, until next time. Thanks for watching.